The crystal-clear waters of the Florida Keys stretched endlessly around the Worthington's Pride, a gleaming 200-foot yacht that cost more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. But what happened next in these seemingly paradise waters would shock everyone who witnessed it. Emily Worthington floated gracefully on her back, her designer swimsuit catching the golden rays of the setting sun. At 23, she was the picture of privileged perfection, blonde hair fanned out like a halo in the turquoise water, completely unaware that death was silently circling beneath her. "Miss Emily, don't go too far from the yacht," Rosa Martinez called from the deck, her weathered hands gripping the pristine white railing. At 52, Rosa had worked for the Worthington family for over 15 years, watching Emily grow from a spoiled 8-year-old into, well, a spoiled 23-year-old. But Rosa loved her like the daughter she never had. Emily waved dismissively without looking back. "I'm fine, Rosa. The water's perfect." Rosa's dark eyes scanned the horizon nervously. Something felt wrong. After growing up in a fishing village in Honduras, she could read the ocean like others read books. The water was too still, too quiet. Little did Emily know that her carefree swim was about to turn into a nightmare. "Mr. Robert is asking for his evening martini," called James, one of the yacht's crew members, appearing beside Rosa on the deck. "Tell him I'll bring it in 5 minutes," Rosa replied, unable to tear her gaze away from Emily, who had now swum nearly 100 yards from the yacht. "Something's not right out there." James followed her stare. "What do you mean?" That's when it happened. A dark shadow emerged from the depths, its triangular fin cutting through the water like a knife through silk. Rosa's blood turned to ice as she recognized the unmistakable silhouette of a massive bull shark, easily 12 feet long, beginning its deadly dance around the unsuspecting heiress. "Emily!" Rosa screamed, her voice cracking with terror. "Shark! Get out of the water now!" But Emily was too far away to hear over the gentle lapping of waves against the yacht's hull. She continued floating peacefully, completely oblivious to the predator that was now circling closer and closer. Rosa didn't hesitate for even a heartbeat. Kicking off her sensible work shoes, she sprinted toward the jet ski platform, her mind racing back to her teenage years when she had dominated every swimming competition in her province. This decision would change everything, not just for Emily, but for both their lives forever. "Rosa, what are you doing?" James shouted, finally spotting the shark's fin. "We need to call the captain." "No time," Rosa yelled back, already untying the jet ski. Her fingers moved with practiced efficiency despite her trembling hands. In the water, the shark had completed another circle, each pass bringing it closer to Emily's vulnerable form. The engine roared to life just as Emily finally sensed something was wrong. She turned toward the yacht, her carefree expression morphing into confusion as she saw Rosa speeding toward her on the jet ski, waving frantically. "Emily! Don't move! Stay perfectly still." Rosa gunned the engine, sending spray flying as the jet ski jumped across the waves. Behind Emily, the shark's dorsal fin disappeared beneath the surface, and Rosa's heart pounded against her ribs like a caged bird. Where was it? Where had it gone? Emily treaded water, her blue eyes wide with growing panic as she finally understood the danger. "Rosa, I can't see anything. Where is it?" "Just stay calm, mija," Rosa called out, using the Spanish term of endearment she'd used for Emily since childhood. She was only 30 yards away now, but it felt like 30 miles. "I'm coming to get you." The water around Emily suddenly erupted in a violent splash. She screamed as something massive brushed against her leg, the rough skin unmistakable. The shark had moved in for a closer investigation, testing its potential prey. Rosa's jaw clenched with determination as she pushed the jet ski to its limits, salt spray stinging her face. She could see Emily thrashing now, panic taking over as the dark shadow circled again, this time confident and deliberate in its movements. "Hold on, Emily. Almost there," Rosa shouted over the engine's roar. But just as Rosa prepared to make her daring rescue, pulling alongside Emily to haul her onto the jet ski, another scream pierced the air, this one from the yacht behind them. But the real shock was still coming. Rosa's powerful strokes cut through the churning water as she propelled the jet ski forward, Emily clinging desperately to her waist. The massive tiger shark's dorsal fin sliced through the waves just 20 feet behind them, its prehistoric form a dark shadow beneath the surface. "Hold on tight, Mija!" Rosa shouted over the roar of the engine, her knuckles white as she gripped the handlebars. The jet ski bounced violently over the swells, each impact sending spray cascading around them. Emily's voice cracked with terror. "Rosa, it's still following us." Rosa glanced back, her heart hammering as she saw the shark's relentless pursuit. Drawing on instincts she'd buried for 15 years, she suddenly veered hard left, the jet ski nearly tilting vertical as they carved a sharp arc through the water. The maneuver worked, the shark's momentum carried it past their previous trajectory, giving them precious seconds. As they approached the yacht's stern, crew members rushed to the platform, extending life rings and shouting instructions. Rosa expertly navigated the jet ski alongside the swimming platform, where eager hands pulled Emily to safety first, then Rosa. "What the hell happened out there?" Robert Worthington's voice boomed across the deck as he stormed toward them, his usually pristine polo shirt wrinkled with anxiety. His steel-gray eyes blazed with a mixture of fear and fury. "Emily, I told you not to swim alone." "Daddy, I'm fine," Emily gasped, water still dripping from her designer swimsuit. "Rosa saved me." "She?" Mr. Worthington, Captain Jack Reynolds interrupted, approaching with a towel draped over his arm. His weathered face bore the serious expression of a man who'd spent 40 years reading the ocean's moods. "Your housekeeper here just pulled off one of the most impressive water rescues I've ever witnessed." Rosa stood quietly, wringing salt water from her long black hair, uncomfortable with the attention. But crew member Maria Santos, who'd been watching from the upper deck, couldn't contain her amazement. "Rosa, where did you learn to handle a jet ski like that? And that swimming, you moved through the water like a dolphin." The question hung in the air, and Rosa felt all eyes turn to her. She'd kept this part of her life buried for so long, but Emily's near-death experience had ripped open old memories. "I used to compete," Rosa said quietly, her Mexican accent softening the words. "Long-distance swimming. Back in Guadalajara, before I came to the States." Robert's expression shifted from anger to surprise. "Compete? What level?" "National team," Rosa admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But that was a long time ago." Emily stared at her housekeeper with newfound respect. "Rosa, why didn't you ever tell us?" Before Rosa could answer, Captain Jack's radio crackled to life with an urgent weather update. He pressed the device to his ear, his expression darkening with each word. "Storm system moving in faster than predicted," he announced, scanning the horizon where dark clouds were already gathering. "We need to head for harbor immediately." But as the crew began securing loose equipment, a sound pierced the air that made everyone freeze, a long, haunting whistle carried on the wind. It wasn't mechanical, wasn't human, and it sent chills down Rosa's spine. "Captain," First Mate Tommy called out, pointing toward the water. "You need to see this." Everyone rushed to the starboard rail, and what they saw made Emily grab Rosa's arm instinctively. Another shark, larger than the first, circled the yacht with deliberate precision. Its movements weren't random or predatory, they seemed almost intelligent, calculated. "That's not normal behavior," Captain Jack muttered, his face pale. "Sharks don't hunt in coordinated patterns like this." Rosa felt Emily's grip tighten on her arm as the second shark's massive form became clearly visible through the crystalline water. This one was different, scarred along its flank, with an unmistakable notch missing from its dorsal fin. "We need to move." "Now," Rosa said, her competitive swimmer's instincts reading the water conditions and the approaching storm. But even as she spoke, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The whistling sound came again, and both sharks responded instantly, changing their circular patterns to form what looked disturbingly like a coordinated blockade around the yacht. As the yacht rocks violently beneath the darkening sky, Rosa grips the railing with white knuckles, her chest tight with a familiar dread. The ocean that had seemed so inviting hours ago now churns like a living nightmare, each wave bringing back memories she's fought 20 years to suppress. "Rosa, we need to secure the lower deck," Captain Jack Reynolds calls out, his weathered face etched with concern as he studies the radar. "This storm's moving faster than predicted. We're looking at 8-foot swells in the next hour." But Rosa can barely hear him over the roar in her ears, not from the wind, but from the memory of being 7 years old, pulled under by a riptide in Galveston Bay while her mother screamed from the shore. The same crushing weight, the same salt water burning her lungs, the same helpless terror that made her swear she'd never trust the ocean again. "Rosa?" Emily's voice cuts through her panic. The young woman stands in the doorway, still wrapped in the towel from their earlier rescue, her usually perfect blonde hair tangled and damp. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," Rosa forces out, though her hands shake as she adjusts the life jacket she's never taken off since the shark incident. "Just worried about this weather." Captain Jack points to the sonar screen, his expression grim. "That's not our only problem. Look at this." A large shadow moves across the display, circling the yacht in wide, predatory arcs. It's bigger than the first one. Much bigger. Robert Worthington storms onto the bridge, his expensive polo shirt now wrinkled and stained with seawater. "What's our status, Captain?" "My board meeting is tomorrow morning, and I cannot afford delays." "Sir, with respect, your meeting is the least of our concerns right now," Jack replies, pointing to the storm clouds massing on the horizon like dark fortresses. "We've got a Category 2 hurricane bearing down on us, and something in the water that doesn't want us to leave." The yacht suddenly lurches to starboard, throwing everyone against the windows. Through the spray-soaked glass, Rosa catches a glimpse of something massive cutting through the waves, a dorsal fin the size of a surfboard, scarred and ancient. "Jesus Christ," Captain Jack whispers. "That's got to be 20 feet long." Emily moves closer to Rosa, instinctively seeking comfort from the woman who's protected her since childhood. "Rosa, what's happening to you? Your face is completely white." Rosa forces herself to breathe, fighting every instinct that screams at her to hide below deck. But Emily is here, vulnerable and scared, and that matters more than her own terror. It always has. "When I was a little girl," she begins, her voice barely audible over the wind, "I almost drowned. The ocean, it took everything from me that day. My courage, my dreams of swimming professionally, my trust." She looks directly at Emily, drawing strength from the girl's concerned eyes. "But it won't take you. I won't let it." The yacht shudders again as something massive strikes the hull from below. Captain Jack grabs the radio, his knuckles white against the handset. "Mayday, Mayday, this is the Serendipity requesting immediate assistance. We're under marine attack approximately 15 miles southeast of Key Largo." Static crackles back, mixed with distant voices too garbled to understand. "The radio's being jammed by the storm," Jack explains, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cooling air. "We're on our own until this passes." Rosa watches the sonar screen with growing horror as the massive signature circles closer, rising toward the surface. Every fiber of her being wants to run, to hide, to let someone else handle this nightmare. But Emily is counting on her, just like she has for the past 15 years through scraped knees and broken hearts and everything in between. "Captain," she says, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice, "what do we need to do?" Before Jack can respond, the yacht rocks violently as something enormous breaches just off the port bow. For one terrifying moment, Rosa sees it clearly, a great white shark of prehistoric proportions, its black eyes fixed on the yacht with unmistakable intelligence and hunger. Then it disappears beneath the surface, and the sonar shows it heading directly toward them at impossible speed. The storm hits with biblical fury, transforming the once peaceful waters into a churning cauldron of rage. Lightning splits the darkening sky as waves crash over the yacht's bow, sending everyone scrambling for safety. Rosa grips the railing, her knuckles white against the polished metal, watching as Captain Jack fights to maintain control of the vessel. "We need to get everyone below deck." Jack shouts over the howling wind, his weathered face grim with concentration. this storm's worse than anything I've seen in 20 years. But Rosa's eyes aren't on the captain. They're fixed on the water, where the second shark's massive dorsal fin cuts through the waves like a dark blade. This predator is different from the first, larger, more aggressive, circling the yacht with predatory intelligence. Every crash of thunder seems to energize the beast, as if nature itself is feeding its hunger. Rosa! Emily appears at her side, rain streaming down her face. Dad's freaking out down there. He keeps asking if you're okay. For a moment, Rosa sees something different in Emily's eyes, genuine concern, not the entitled indifference she's grown accustomed to. The storm seems to be stripping away more than just the yacht's decorative facades. I'm fine, Mija, Rosa says, though her voice wavers. The childhood memory of drowning claws at her mind, but she pushes it down. We need to focus on getting through this. Captain Jack's radio crackles to life with a Coast Guard warning, Category 2 storm system intensifying. All vessels seek immediate shelter. There's a protected cove about 3 miles northeast, Jack calls out. But with that shark following us, and these swells. He doesn't finish the sentence, but Rosa understands. One wrong move, and they'll all end up in the water. The yacht lurches violently, and Emily loses her footing. Rosa catches her just as a tremendous crash shakes the entire vessel. Through the rain, they see the shark has rammed into the hull, its eyes black as obsidian, filled with an ancient hunger. It's testing us, Rosa whispers, her competitive swimmer's instincts kicking in. Like it knows we're trapped. Down below, Robert Worthington's voice carries up the stairs, panic evident in his usually commanding tone. I don't care what it costs. Get us out of here. But money can't buy salvation from nature's fury. Captain Jack spins the wheel hard to port, trying to use the storm's power to their advantage. If we can time this right with the swells, we might outmaneuver it, he yells. Rosa studies the pattern of the waves, her mind calculating angles and timing like she used to before diving competitions. There, she points to a gap between two massive swells. We have maybe 10 seconds when the current shifts. The captain nods, understanding immediately. This isn't just about navigation anymore, it's about survival. As they execute the maneuver, Emily grabs Rosa's hand. I never thanked you, she says, her voice barely audible over the storm. For saving me. For always being there. I've been such a... Don't, Rosa interrupts gently. Not now. But something profound is happening. The storm isn't just washing over the yacht, it's washing away years of unspoken barriers between them. The yacht cuts through the churning water, and for a moment, it seems like they might escape. The shark falls behind, confused by their sudden change in direction. Hope blooms in Rosa's chest. Then the rogue wave appears. It rises from the darkness like a moving mountain, 40 feet of pure oceanic power bearing down on them. Captain Jack sees it too late, his face going pale as he realizes what's coming. Hold on, he screams. The wave crashes over the yacht with the force of a collapsing building. Rosa feels Emily's hand slip from hers as the deck becomes a torrent of seawater and chaos. The world turns upside down, and suddenly Rosa is airborne, thrown clear of the yacht's safety rail. Time slows as she falls through the storm-lashed air, her last sight being Emily's horrified face disappearing above her. The dark waters rush up to meet her, and Rosa realizes with crystal clarity that her worst nightmare is about to become reality. She's going back into the ocean, and this time, she might not make it out. The massive wave crashes over the yacht's deck, and for a terrifying moment, everyone searches frantically for Rosa in the churning black water. Emily's heart pounds as she spots Rosa's head bobbing dangerously close to where the aggressive shark had last been seen. Rosa! Emily screams, but her voice is swallowed by the storm's fury. Robert grabs his daughter's arm. Emily, no! It's too dangerous. But Emily looks at her father with fierce determination. She saved my life without thinking twice. I'm not abandoning her now. Before anyone can stop her, Emily tears away from her father's grip and dives into the tempestuous ocean. The icy water shocks Emily's system, but she pushes through, swimming harder than she ever has in her life. Rosa is struggling against the current, weakened from exhaustion and her childhood fear of deep water paralyzing her movements. "Rosa, I'm here!" Emily shouts over the storm, reaching her just as another wave threatens to separate them. She wraps her arm around Rosa's waist, remembering the swimming techniques Rosa had taught her years ago during their secret lessons by the pool. "Miss Emily, you shouldn't have," Rosa gasps. "We're in this together," Emily declares, her voice stronger than it's ever been. "Now help me get us both out of here." Drawing on Rosa's swimming expertise and Emily's newfound courage, they work in perfect synchronization. Rosa overcomes her fear, guiding their movements while Emily provides the strength and determination to push through the violent waves. Captain Jack throws down a rescue rope, and both women grab hold. As the crew pulls them aboard, the storm begins to subside, as if nature itself acknowledges their triumph. Collapsed on the deck, soaking wet and exhausted, Emily and Rosa look at each other and burst into relieved laughter. The shark has disappeared, and the immediate danger has passed. Robert rushes over, his face a mixture of pride and shame. He kneels beside Rosa, his voice breaking. "Rosa, I've been blind. For years, you've been more than just our employee. You've been family, and I never acknowledged it properly." Rosa sits up slowly, still catching her breath. "Mr. Worthington, I never expected." "Please, call me Robert," he interrupts, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And I want to make something right. Emily told me about your dream to open a community swimming school. Consider it funded in full." Rosa's eyes widen in disbelief. "Robert, I can't accept." Emily takes Rosa's hand. "You absolutely can. And I want to help run it with you. I've learned more about real strength and courage in these past few days than in my entire privileged life." The transformation in Emily is remarkable. Gone is the superficial socialite, replaced by someone who understands the value of genuine human connection and selfless service. "Rosa," Emily continues, her voice thick with emotion, "you've been teaching me my whole life without me realizing it. Not just swimming, but how to be brave, how to care about others, how to be real." Rosa pulls Emily into a tight embrace. "Mija, you always had that strength inside you. You just needed to find it." As the yacht makes its way back to shore under clearing skies, the three of them stand together on the deck. Robert has gained a new perspective on what truly matters, Emily has discovered her authentic self, and Rosa finally feels valued for who she truly is. The community swimming school opens 6 months later in Rosa's hometown. Emily works alongside Rosa every day, teaching underprivileged children not just how to swim, but how to overcome their fears and believe in themselves. Robert visits regularly, having restructured his business to focus more on philanthropic ventures. Their story spreads throughout the community, inspiring others to look beyond social barriers and recognize the heroes among us. What started as a terrifying encounter with a shark became a life-changing journey that transformed 3 lives forever. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't found in wealth or status, but in the courage to dive in when someone needs saving, and in recognizing that real family is built on love, respect, and mutual sacrifice. What would you do if faced with a choice between safety and saving someone you care about? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories of courage and transformation.